The bright white lights of the Capitol hearing room reflected off the polished mahogany desk. As cameras rolled from every direction, Kash Patel sat with calm determination in his eyes, gripping a manila folder so tightly it wrinkled between his fingers. The room was packed. Journalists scribbled notes. Staffers whispered anxiously. Senators shifted in their seats, sensing that something big, maybe something explosive, was about to unfold. And at the center of it all, Senator Lindsey. Graham sat silently, his trademark smirk faltering with each passing second. What was hidden inside that folder, and why did Kash Patel choose today of all days to bring it? Kash's voice cut through the silence like a blade. For too long, the American people have been lied to, deceived, manipulated. He paused, locking eyes with Graham, and today, we begin to lift that veil. 3 weeks earlier, the story had started in a dusty office buried deep in Washington's archives. Kash, once a high-ranking government official and national security advisor, had been quietly investigating inconsistencies in intelligence briefings, irregularities that kept pointing back to one name, Lindsey Graham. At first, Kash didn't want to believe it. Graham had long stood as a loud voice on national security and American values. But as the evidence mounted, doubts turned to certainty. Memos redacted without cause, unexplained financial reports, mysterious backdoor meetings with defense contractors whose interests curiously aligned with Graham's public stances. One night, after hours of sorting through declassified documents, Kash found it, a pattern of policy influence that traced back to millions of dollars in campaign donations and consultant fees. Hidden within legal language, cloaked in bureaucratic fog, the truth was there, and it was ugly. Kash knew what had to be done, but exposing a powerful senator came with risks, death threats, surveillance, even political isolation. Friends warned him, "You'll never work in Washington again. They'll ruin you," but he didn't care. He'd seen too many good people destroyed by the system. He wasn't about to let it happen again. So he prepared. He gathered the evidence, double-checked every document, every name, every dollar that passed hands. And when the Congressional Oversight Committee opened a hearing on national security corruption, he volunteered to testify. Back in the hearing room, Graham leaned forward, his face flushed. "Mr. Patel, I hope you understand the gravity of these accusations," he said, trying to sound composed. "I do, Senator," Kash replied, "but I'm not accusing. I'm presenting facts." With that, he opened the folder. Page after page of documents spilled across the table. Wire transfers from obscure packs linked to foreign military interests. Internal emails between Graham's staff and lobbyists. Confidential notes from classified briefings where policy had been altered last minute, with no logical explanation except for profit. As Kash read from one document, detailing a vote Graham had cast days after receiving funds from a contractor with vested interests, the room fell into stunned silence. Graham's eyes darted around, searching for an exit, an excuse, a savior. There was none. Reporters sprang into action. Phones buzzed. Cameras zoomed in on Graham's face as it paled beneath the spotlight. One senator whispered to another, "This is going to be on every screen in America by tonight." But for Kash, it wasn't about headlines. It was about justice. He told the room about soldiers sent into war zones without proper equipment because the defense budget had been rerouted to benefit Graham's donors. He talked about intelligence officials who were silenced when they questioned decisions. He spoke about everyday Americans who lost loved ones, while the powerful played politics with national security. The committee chair, visibly shaken, called for an emergency ethics review, but the real impact was already in motion. By evening, the story was breaking across every major network. Protesters gathered outside Capitol Hill. A formal investigation into Graham's financial records began the next morning. Graham, once untouchable, found himself facing the consequences of years of deception. But Kash didn't rejoice. He stood quietly in the hallway, watching the storm unfold. Reporters swarmed him, begging for more. "Kash, are you proud of what you did today?" one shouted. He thought for a moment, then replied, "It's not about pride. It's about truth, and someone had to speak it." In the weeks that followed, public trust in government was tested, but it also began to rebuild. Inspired by Kash's courage, other whistleblowers stepped forward. More corrupt officials were exposed, and slowly, painfully, the machine began to change. Cash returned to his private life, but his story lived on. Students studied it in civics classes. Citizens cited it as a reason they believed again. And one phrase spoken that day in the hearing became a symbol of hope for a wounded democracy. The moment Kash Patel opened that manila folder, time itself seemed to slow down inside the Capitol hearing room. Every rustle of paper echoed like thunder. Every glance, every breath carried weight. But for Kash, it wasn't about theatrics. It wasn't about drama. It was about something far more sacred. Accountability. Lindsey Graham, a veteran senator with decades of influence under his belt, sat across from Kash trying to maintain a poker face. But the crease in his brow, the subtle twitch of his fingers, tapping the desk, they betrayed him. He knew what was coming. He just didn't know how damning it would be. Months earlier, Kash Patel had been quietly working with an internal team of former analysts and intelligence operatives. Most had left their government posts disillusioned by the very system they had once vowed to protect. Together, they formed a private integrity group dedicated to uncovering high-level corruption. The tip that changed everything came from a whistleblower, a former staffer in Graham's office who had seen enough to risk everything. She handed Kash a flash drive with encrypted files, emails, memos, travel logs. At first, Kash was cautious. Political smears weren't uncommon. But once he decrypted the data, it painted a disturbing picture. The documents showed that over a 5-year span, Graham had cultivated relationships with multiple defense contractors, not unusual in itself. But the timing of donations and decisions, that's where the real story began. Each time Graham publicly advocated for military expansion in certain regions, those contractors saw massive spikes in contracts and funding. Further investigation revealed a flow of dark money being funneled into political action committees that supported Graham's campaigns.